This week on In Post, processing an architecture image of the Geisel Library at Blue Hour. Hi everyone, I'm Scott Davenport and thanks for joining me this week on In Post. We are processing an architecture shot this week, the Geisel Library on the University of California, San Diego campus at Blue Hour, and it came out really nice. We got some strong angles, some good texture, and some really good color. If you did not check out the In the Field episode on this, have a look. It'll just give you some good context on how I shot and why I chose this particular composition we'll see over others that I did take. It's not strictly necessary, but you can get the full maximum enjoyment for this episode if you do so. Anyway, let's get over to the computer and get to processing. So this is the shot straight out of the camera, and I've done a few things to just tweak the image in Lightroom. Hit the backslash key to show you the after effects here. And it's pretty simple stuff here. Lens corrections, standard almost for me at this point, so that I can get any bowing and any aberration taken care of. In particular at the wider angles, I notice it really helps with devignetting on the corners. In the basic pane, I left the white balance as shot. I'll show you what it looked like. I did play with auto, but it was a little bit too warm. I didn't like what it looked like. By the time the sun had gone down, the sky really was that nice blue hour tone, so I kept that. Didn't touch exposure and contrast. Brought the highlights down. This was for the sky. Double click that. You can see right up in this area here is where it was bright, and so I pulled that back, toned that in. Shadows, open them up a bunch. I'll double click the shadow slider to reset it, and you can see the eaves of the building are a little darker. You don't have as much visibility in there. So pulled the shadows to the right to open that up. It also opened up the foreground some too. Played with white and black point white. I didn't need to do anything. This bright spots here, and particularly in the lights inside the building, those are already blown out. Right? I've hit J key. You're going to have a few spectral highlights, and I'm all right with that. I did pull the blacks back just a bit to get some pure blacks in the photo. A couple of the shadow spots here and some shadows in the shrub there. Increased clarity. That's mainly for the structure of the building. A little touch of vibrance, and that was for the sky. I actually backed off the saturation just a tiny bit. I think I was mainly fiddling around with this, and it ended up I wanted to decrease the color just a little bit. I'm going to do some things with color when I get into the Perfect Photo Suite. One other thing I did in Lightroom was with the detail. So let me put it over something like this. Looks like a good area. I've got indoor in the library and a little bit of the building as well, we can see here. I wanted more detail. I want those concrete to, the texture in the concrete to show more, and I want the crispness of the books on the shelves. I want those to show up very nicely, and the default for details somewhere around here. That was just a little bit soft for me. The amount, I think, is also somewhere around here. So I changed those to suit my taste. With that, let's get this over into the photo suite for a few final touches. Here in Perfect Layers, I have done the work and I forgot to turn on a smart layer, so I'll show you the final result here, and I will try to recreate this as best I can in just a moment. But the fundamentals were two color enhancers, one for the sky to give it a little more blue, and one for the foreground to take the edge off of the parking lights, the orange hues that were there, and then some dynamic contrast really for the building itself, and lastly a subtle vignette. So not a ton of stylization. Let's see, matter of fact, this time I will duplicate this layer. I will make it a smart layer, and if I get it right, I get to keep it. Hooray! Let's get into effects and take care of business here. All right, let's start with color. So I'm going to add a color enhancer to the filter stack, turn off auto, and go down to the color range here into the aquas and the blues. This will be more blues than aquas, I believe. So we'll take the blues and we're going to increase the saturation on these. Now I'm watching the sky. I know this is going to make the building have a lot more of a bluer tone, and I don't want that, but I'll deal with that with masking in a minute. Also, I think I'll nudge this a little more toward blue and a little away from the purple hues. Speaking of purple, let's take a look at that. Maybe just nudge those ever so slightly toward blue. I'll nudge this really far. You can see it's making it way too blue. I don't want to lose that twilight feel. But I want the sky more blue than purple for this particular shot. That looks pretty good. Now I'll use the quick mask to apply this to only the sky. Now, it's going to be simpler for me to remove it from the sky and then invert the mask because the sky is a nice, large, uniform area. So let me just sweep through here with the quick mask, make sure I don't touch the building. There we go. Let the quick mask do its job. Okay, now Control M to see how well it did. Not too bad. Let's go ahead and take care of these straggling areas here. One thing strange about the quick mask is when I have the mask visible, you don't see where the brush strokes are. Okay, much better. Now I'll grab the refine brush from the tool well and sweep over the edges of the trees so that we can take care of smoothing out and evening out the mask, letting it get in between all the different branches. Same thing on this side, like that. And I think for the little tiny bits here in between these little triangles that are peeking through the sky, that's going to be best job for the perfect brush. So I'll set the perfect brush. I'm going to do a command and click and send it a circle around inside there. The command is locking my color sample, so I don't have to worry about sweeping over the building. I'm not going to affect that. I'm just going to affect these little triangles of blue. Now I don't want to take it away from the windows. I like the blue tone that's on the windows as is. All right, Control M to turn off our mask. Now we've taken this blue work and the color enhancer and apply it to everything except the sky now. So the last thing to do is invert the mask. I'll do that with Command I. And now our sky has gotten a little bluer and the building remains unaffected. Now I know I'm going to want this mask in a minute when I do contrast. So let me get the mask and copy it. One more thing for color. Let's add a new color enhancer. And this is for these orange tones down here. These are very hot. It happens with parking lights in the evening. And so I'm going to add another color enhancer, turn off auto, and go down into the orange and take the saturation down on this. We can see that those are getting duller, and that's good. Maybe even take the brightness down just a little bit too. And it's even having a nice effect at the base of the building. Now to make sure I don't apply this anywhere that I don't want it to happen, let's toggle that off and on. That's actually pretty good. There really aren't a lot of orange tones up here elsewhere, so I don't think I need to do any masking, and that's wonderful. Next up, let's take care of dynamic contrast and the main building. So, dynamic contrast. And right now I'm just watching the building. I know this is going to touch the sky in ways that I won't be happy with. Start with the natural presets, good. I'm going to pop up the smalls to 5, and I think I'll back off the large to maybe 15 to start with. I don't want it too punchy. Let's play with the medium a little bit. That looks pretty good. Let me toggle before and after. All right. And now I'm going to paste the mask that we had saved earlier. So that's going to only apply it to the sky, as you recall. You see that mask is now only on the sky. We want to invert that. I'll do Command I, inverting it so that it is only on the building. The last little bit I'm going to do is take the masking brush, turn off the perfect brush, increase this, and maybe at 50% opacity. Kind of take that contrast away from the outskirts here and the immediate foreground. I really want the attention on the building. I don't want crisp railings and shrubs to be taking away from what is the star of the show, this UFO-shaped library. All right, last but not least, we'll add a vignette. And I think I'm going to be pretty happy with subtle. I may change, yeah, that's a little bit too much on the sides. Lower the feather to 0. I'm going to increase the size so I can see where this is going to be applied. And just in the corners is what I want. I'll go the other way with the roundness, making it more round. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and we'll pop the feather back up to 100. That's good. All right, so there we are. And so coming out of Perfect Effects, this was before, and that's after. The tip of the week, this is a little more on the shooting side than it is on the processing side, but I'm going to tie it together. Shooting-wise, for a good blue hour shot, you need to wait 10 to 15 minutes, maybe even longer after sunset, because you need that nice mix of ambient and artificial light to really get that blue hour look. And if you do that, when you get into processing, you'll have very, very subtle tweaks. I think the main one that really makes the blue hour work shine is playing with color and just nudging your color channels to either emphasize a deeper blue tone, or maybe you like more of a purple tone, depending on what time of year it is and where you are and what your scene is. So that's the tip of the week. That concludes this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, tell a friend, let me know, contact me through my website, leave a comment here on the video, any type of positive affirmation that lets me know you're enjoying these shows, helps me keep doing them, helps me keep bringing them back week after week. So until next time, I'm Scott Davenport, and thanks for joining me.